And welcome back to another amazing week. That's right, a week of fasting, 72 hours. Or really, was it 72 hours? I got to share with you something that happened. So I am right now 70 hours, right? So we got 2 more hours to go for this week's 72-hour fast. And I was trying to figure out on my show last night, if you remember when we were checking in, why did I get that big spike in my blood sugar in the morning, right? Because normally my blood sugar will go up maybe 10, 15 points because of toothpaste and so forth. But yesterday it went from maybe 80 to 90 up to about 150 almost. And I couldn't figure it out, but I figured it out. We're going to share that with you here in just a minute. And today we are doing a review of fasting, how to prepare for a fast, how to get through a fast successfully, and then how, of course, how to break a fast. And we are right near the end of our fast for this week. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. That's right, I said the word, reverse their diabetes. Who want to improve their metabolic health, set themselves up for wellness and success in the metabolic space. That's what we've been doing here in the New Year, New You program in the journey that we've been on. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I'm glad that you're here. If you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat, in the comments. As we move through this episode, this show, make sure you put a Q in front of them because I'll know that that's something that I need to pay particular attention to because I want to look at those and get those answered as we're scrolling through the comments that are out there. Whatever platform you are on right now, I welcome you to the space. You should be seeing us on LinkedIn, on Twitch, on Instagram, on Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. Thank you for being with us, and we'll give a shout out to some of our community members here in just a minute. You know how we do. I've got over here on the side my glucose monitors, right here, and then right below me is my Dexcom Clarity Report, which we'll take a look at here in just a minute. Let me get some of these things a look off the screen because those are some of my props that I'm going to show you in just a minute so you get to see. All right. So like I said, welcome. What are we doing and why are we doing this? We'll get to that. Let me hop over and say hello to, I see some of our community members already out there. I see Steve. Steve is saying hello. And Steve, I intended to actually give you a call last night. Didn't get a chance to do that, but we'll do it. And then Autumn. Autumn says, hi, Dr. Woode. Hi, Steve. Hey, Autumn, welcome into the space. And of course, Steve is saying hello to Autumn. And whichever platform you are on, like I said, welcome to the space. I see some folks over there on Instagram. So thank you for stopping through and hanging out with us. So what are we doing? Let's see. I'm going to, Autumn, I think you have a question there. I'm going to star that. We'll come back to that here in just a little bit. Okay. So what are we doing in this space? Why are we doing what we're doing? And what have you just stumbled on? If you are just stumbled, if somebody's invited you to come over and take a look, we're glad that you're here. But what is this? What are we doing? What is this New Year, New You? So diabetes is an amazing, let me back up. The management of diabetes in this current era is an amazing process that's going on. For the first time in a long time, we have put together with diabetes, which used to be diagnosed or defined as a chronic progressive disease. Notice the words chronic and progressive. That means it's here, and it's here for a long time, and it's progressive, so it gets worse. But for the very first time in the history of diabetes, really, we are beginning to talk about the idea of reversal. Now, there have been people who have been talking about this for a while, but officially the party line has been that diabetes is irreversible. That once you get it, you've got diabetes and it continues to progress and it continues to worsen. Now, as we look around the world, there are over 1 billion people, that's 1 billion, billion with a B, people on the planet that have diabetes, that is blood sugars that are actually considered out of the range of normal. And then there are another little over 500 million people that have what's called pre-diabetes. These are blood sugars that are higher than normal, but not quite high enough to be called diabetic. Okay? So around the planet, there's this entire group of people that are struggling, suffering with this disease. And the New Year, New You journey that we've been on is how do we learn the things that we need to learn in order to reverse the diabetes, in order to improve our metabolism. Now, here's the big thing about metabolism. A lot of people throw that word around. And let me kind of say that diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease, meaning that diabetes has components of lots of the other things that we see. So what are some metabolic diseases? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, polycystic ovarian syndrome, the actual metabolic syndrome. There's an actual metabolic syndrome. Coronary artery disease are part of this spectrum. So that someone who has one of these diseases is on the spectrum somewhere, with the ultimate metabolic disease, the prototypic, being diabetes. Because diabetes encompasses a lot of those, and it has lots of the complications that come from all those. Diabetes is so significant that it is actually considered a coronary equivalent, meaning that having diabetes is the same as having had a heart attack. Yep. And so our goal then is, how do we set ourselves up for success in reversing diabetes, and as a result of that, improving some of those other diseases that we may find ourselves in. So there are people that are out there and you're listening and say, well, I'm not diabetic, so that's not for me. Or I have high blood pressure, so this is not for me. And here's the thing. The same things that will help improve diabetes that we're talking about reversing, those same things can go into the spaces of blood pressure and cholesterol and weight and fatty liver and improve those as well. You heard me at the top of the show start by saying, I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. I easily, with the path that we're on, could have said, I'm talking to adults with high blood pressure, adults with fatty liver who want to improve their fatty liver or improve their high blood pressure. I'm talking to adults who want to reduce their weight. Right? Because all of those disease processes in the metabolic spectrum can fit into that space, because the path that we're on will help to improve all of those. So as you're listening, I want you to remember that if you have a metabolic disease, that the things that you're hearing applied to you can improve your wellness, improve your health, and set you up for metabolic success. And when I say metabolic success, a lot of people call me the blood sugar doctor or the diabetes doctor, right? Or sugar doctor for short. And I am the sugar doctor. I am the diabetes doctor. But I often tell people that my goal, while the goal right now is to get that blood sugar controlled, the goal ultimately is, how do I keep you alive as long as possible and keep you as healthy as possible? Right? So remember, that's the goal. Managing blood sugar is a huge part of that, because for a lot of people, we can't get long life and healthy life if we don't control blood sugars. But I want you, as you're going through this space, as you're walking this path, as you're going on this journey, I want you to remember what our goal is. The goal is not blood sugar control, it's long healthy life. I tell the story that when I was first learning to drive, I'm from New York, from Brooklyn, didn't drive. When I came to college here in Huntsville, Alabama, a friend of mine had a 1974 four-speed Volvo. Right, that's what we drove from New York down with. If you're out there, yeah, kudos to us. I don't know how we made it, but that's a whole nother story. And so he was teaching me to drive, and I was driving, right, because this is the stick, and the car was going like this, right, on the road. Well, not quite that long, but you get the idea. And so he said to me, he said, wait, stop. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm looking at the road. And he said, why? I said, because I'm trying to keep the car between the lines. And so he said something to me that fixed helped me in that position. But over the years, I've actually thought of that in other spaces. He said, don't look at the road. He said, I want you to lift your eyes up and I want you to gaze at where we're heading. Because wherever your eyes are, that's where the car is going to go. And if you drive, you know that. If your head is turned over here, you better be careful, right? Because that car is going that direction. Even though you don't physically say, I want the car to go there. The brain and the hands, the arms are working together. And so same thing here. Our goal is long, healthy life. And so that's what we need to put our gaze on. And the things that are here along the way, they will line up with what our goal is. Now, we've got to put some work into that. So why are we talking about this journey? Well, we're talking about this journey because people don't often fail at something because they don't have a desire to succeed. They don't get ahead not because they don't have drive or vision. They don't get ahead not even because they don't have the know-how. They don't get ahead, they don't succeed because they don't have structure. They don't have a plan. And so the New Year, New You journey that we're on is putting structure in place so that we can get improvement in our diabetes, in our health, and set ourselves up for metabolic success. That's what the New Year, New You journey has been. It is, how do I plug into a structure that's already there? How do I plug into a space that's already there that sets me up for success? It's kind of like my son likes basketball, and we were going to, there's a place here that he goes to practice, okay? And they've got coaches and so forth. And he was doing some free throws, right? And he was holding the ball and he was missing three throws, missing. And the coach walked up and the coach said to him, hey, if you put your hand here and put your hand here, and then when you shoot, right, so 90 degrees, right, keep that hand right there. The coach spent all of a minute showing him what to do, and then he started making those successfully. So that having a structure, having a place, having someone who comes along saying, okay, this is the order, this is the form, these are the basics, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and all of a sudden we get benefit. Okay? So the New Year, New You journey, the process the pathway has been to put structure to the things that we know we've got to do to set ourselves up for success. And one of the best tools that we've learned several: emotional intelligence, fueling our bodies with balanced bites, how to create a meal, how to be emotionally intelligent, how to be mindful in our eating, how to evaluate our medications to decide which ones we should get off first and which ones we should even consider getting on. What are some food hacks, right? We talked about retrogradation, which is where you cook the food the day before and you put it in the refrigerator so that those bonds in the carbohydrates coalesce. And when you eat it the next day, you don't absorb as much. And we learned about fasting. And all those tools are with the idea of getting us to the place where we need to be in order to be successful in our health. And because fasting is one of those powerful tools, it actually hits all three of the pillars that we talk about when we talk about reversing diabetes, right? So decreasing insulin, suppressing the appetite, and reducing sugar. So those are the pillars that we talk about, and diabetes and fasting hits all of those. So if we want to be successful, we want to use the tool as efficiently as possible. And so as we've been walking through the New Year, New You journey on Dwain Woode MD Live on our show on Monday, then we do a fast. We do a 72-hour fast. That's what I've been doing. We've encouraged our community to work their way up to fasting for at least a 24-hour period once a week. But we come on and we do a fast we do a check-in and we walk through the process so you can see what's going on with my blood sugars. We talk about how to fast successfully. What are the things I need to know about the different types of fasts? Intermittent fasting, 5 and 2 fast, alternate day fasting, 1 meal a day, our extended or prolonged fasting, 24 hours and more. What benefit do we get from different fasting mechanisms or methods? What disease processes have been shown to be improved by intermittent fasting or 5 and 2 or alternate day fasting or time restricted eating? So we're learning how to be structured in our fasting, how to be structured in our path, and how do we optimize fasting for the benefit. Now, you may be coming and you want to improve your blood sugar and you want to lose some weight. You need to lower your blood pressure. You need to work on your fatty liver. You need to work on your polycystic ovarian syndrome. All of those are in the path. So what is it that you are looking for in addition to reversing diabetes? You may have some complications based on some decisions you've made in the past. And the New Year, New You journey says, that's done, that's gone. We can't change that. But right now we have unlimited ability to make changes and to set ourselves up for success. And so how do we fast? And what you're seeing right now is one of our check-ins. And how do we become successful in our fasting? How do we fast successfully? How do we prepare for a fast? How do we get through the fast successfully? And then, of course, how do we break the fast? Okay? Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and let's do a couple of things. One, I want to do a check-in. We're going to look at my blood sugars, and then I'm going to tell you a little story as we get into our discussion. The story is interesting because you'll see some effects of it on my blood sugars here in a minute. All right, so let's do this. Let's do a check-in. So whenever you want to do anything, whenever you are in the process of changing, of improving, you want to make sure that you are doing an evaluation. And the check-in that I do at the beginning of the show is with the intention of looking to see, how is my body doing as part of this whole process? How am I feeling? What am I thinking? What are the emotions that go on? And I'll make a point here in a minute that fasting is not just not eating. There's a whole host of other things that go on with it. But let's go ahead and let's do the check-in. So one, I want to talk about how I'm doing physically. And you know what? Let me do this first. Let me go back and let me tell this story, right? Because I want you to get context. So I was doing our check-in last night, and I showed my blood sugar. Let's see, where is that? And so I showed my blood sugar, and there was a place, actually we don't see it on here. There was a spot, but actually it shows up here as well. So my blood sugars were riding below 150, actually riding right around 100. And then all of a sudden I got a spike in the blood sugar. And so I thought, right, because usually in the morning when I brush my teeth, I get a spike in blood sugar. And this one, you'll see, went up to about 125, I think 123. And so I thought that it was my blood sugar. But when I looked at the number had gone up much more than I expected. In fact, it had gone up to almost 150, and I think it may be 151, 152. And that is uncommon. And so I thought, well, maybe my body's responding differently to the blood sugar. But I started looking around. It's like, okay, what am I kind of walking through the path? Well, I said, okay, I didn't eat anything, even though if you saw my show last night, the episode last night, we talked about a lot of chocolate and chips. So those are back in the car, by the way. So I didn't eat anything. And the toothpaste doesn't usually have this pronounced effect. I am sleeping. There wasn't a whole lot of stress going on. That I shouldn't say a whole lot of stress. I didn't feel a lot of stress. Now, I had some things go on in my family with my friend group and so forth. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe this is an effect from that. But I started really kind of trying to research and figuring out what was causing that spike. In fact, let me do this, and we're going to go a little out of order in what I wanted to talk about so that you can actually see what that is. So here we are. Here we are with my blood sugar, and this is where we are right now. But if we go back to yesterday, you'll see right here. So the blood sugar is riding right about 190s, a little lower than that. And then all of a sudden, right here, right, we get that big spike up to I think 147. It looks like that was the highest, 147 right there. Let me make sure. Yeah, right here at the 147. And then, of course, it came back down. And so look at how pronounced that is. So it went down from a 98 up to 147, and that was 98 was about what 6:30, and it stayed above 100 until what's that? When did it actually it didn't go below 100 until actually it never went below 100 after that. But this big spike, right? This big spike stayed there for almost 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. I was like, this does not make any sense. This does not make any sense. So I've been, so we talked about it last night, and I went back and I started researching. And lo and behold, so I normally, all right, so this is what I usually drink when I'm fasting. Water and unsweetened tea. And you say there, it says zero sugar. Right, hopefully you can see that. Maybe I'll bring it this way a little bit. There we go. Right, you can see it says zero sugar tea. Well, apparently when I went to the cafeteria yesterday, I thought I had picked this up, but I actually picked this up, or 2 days ago. Right, so this has been sitting. Well, I have 2 of these, and so because I pick it up, I grab it and I pour it into my cup, and you guys see me sipping on the cup when I'm here, and it turns out that what I was sipping on was this stuff. So that morning when I got up, before I left, I took a sip, and during the day I think I had one of these in the office, and so I took a sip. So it turns out that I was actually drinking the tea that was actually sweetened. And let's see, where is it? You may be able to see that a little bit. Is that total carbs, 48 grams of carbs. 48 grams of carbs. And so we typically tell people that we want them to have 45 grams of carbs per meal. So if that's the case, then right? So one of those bottles is actually more carbohydrates than an entire meal, right? Because we say 45 per meal for a typical meal. Now, if you're doing low carb, low ketogenic, that of course is much more than you will have. So I tell you that story because I wanted us to talk about when I do my check-in. I'm going to do my check-in in light of the fact that there are those periods in my 72 hours where I was actually taking in something that had carbohydrates. Okay, all right. So here we are. So checking in. So how am I feeling physically? So physically, obviously, I'm feeling good. I'm rested. And so even as I've kind of gone through this week, I think I've been saying that, hey, I'm resting. I'm getting good rest. I'm getting good hydration. And so wasn't feeling any lightheadedness, sweatiness, dizziness, any of those things that sometimes people will talk about when they talk about fasting. We'll come back and we'll talk more about this here in just a little bit. But I'm feeling energetic, and I've done a good job of resting. Sometimes if you are dehydrated, then you can feel lightheaded, sweaty, dizzy, and of course the palpitations. In terms of how my mentation or my mental status, that tends to go with our energy and with our physical. So if you're tired, then it's difficult for you to kind of process, and so you can feel sluggish. You feel like you're in a fog. People will see they're feeling fuzzy-headed, right? So all of those things. And then emotionally, this has been kind of an emotional roller coaster week for me, coming out of last week, and that was the whole point of the episode that we did last night and the call of the chocolate. If you didn't watch that, that was a good episode episode of the show for you to go back and watch. And so what happens in our lives, in our minds, when life happens? Right? When we get into those situations where there are emotional triggers, where there are habitual triggers or access triggers, or even memory and taste. What do we do? How do we navigate that space? And that was a good episode for you to go back and watch and see as I talk through some of what happened with me this week. Okay? All right. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars. And so I've got my Keto Mojo. I've got my Dexcom and my Clarity. My Dexcom and my Libre on, and you'll see there on the screen that my Dexcom right now is saying my blood sugar is 85. My Libre is saying it's 76. And so, going back to this graph or this this view, so I've not had anything, right? So once I realized that yesterday, I've not had anything containing carbohydrates since after our show last night. Okay, so right in here. And so you'll see those blood sugars, 103, 102, a little bump right there. That's probably part of the dawn phenomenon. Blood sugar came down. This right here is what I expect from toothpaste. Right? And then, of course, for the rest of the day, we see the blood sugars coming down, 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 down to what it is right now into the 90s. Because as I was going through the week, I kept wondering, if I'm fasting for 24 hours and then 48 hours, why is my blood sugar not below 100? Because that's usually the case. That's usually what happens. My blood sugar goes below 100. In fact, it sometimes goes down to 50 or 60. And that wasn't happening this week. So I was really doing a detective job to try to pinpoint and figure out what was going on as I was moving through this week. All right, so that is what my freestyle is saying. Over to my side, I have my Keto Mojo and my Contour. So let's go ahead and grab those. And this is my Contour. The Contour, of course, gives me blood sugar. Keto Mojo gives me blood sugar and ketone. So let's go ahead and open up the ketone one, blood sugar one, get that in here. And then I'm going to open this one just to have it off to the side. That way I don't have to stick myself twice. And then into our trusty container to try to find a Lancet. All right, so we got that there. And then let's come back over here. And so this Lancet is one of those twist off. You just twist the top off here. And I don't usually use a lancing device. Lancing device, you put this in it, and there's a spring-loaded thing. You press it, and then it gives you a finger stick. So let's go ahead, and this is the finger I typically use. And you may get a glimpse right there of some discoloration right there. And also right there, and these are the two fingers I tend to use, and that's why you see that. So I'm gonna go on this side where it's not kind of calloused, so I can get and that ow, that hurt. And we get a good drop of blood. Go ahead and get that started. Another drop for the Contour. Get that started there. So 83 for the Keto Mojo, and Contour will give us 79. And of course, right there is my Freestyle Libre. So let me go ahead. We gotta keep get a drop of blood here. Come on, don't dry up for me. And let's get this in. And I hope maybe I was talking. Come on. Let's get a drop, and let's see if that works. All right, good. I was afraid that would not give me a good enough drop. All right, so we'll come back to take a look at that. If you think you know what my ketones are, and so last night, I think the ketones were 0.7. So if you think you know what my ketones are, give me a guess. Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Drop that in the comments. And before we get into our review, let's go ahead and see. I think I saw some questions and some comments. So Autumn said, I'm interested in your thoughts on the Lumen device. And I think I started that because I wanted to spend a little bit of time going through that. So I'm going to hold on to that one. Autumn said, I started a fast today, intended to fast until Tuesday. So let's see. Today, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So are you doing a 5-day fast, Autumn? Is that what you're saying? And so it's Tuesday. When is Christmas, by the way? All right. Autumn says, being a type 2 diabetic myself, your comment about diabetes equals a heart attack really shocked me. Makes me realize even more how important it is for me to reverse my diabetes. Yep. It is. And that's something that we don't often talk about, the fact that it is a coronary equivalent. All right. Mosmit says, hello. Hey, thank you for coming through, hanging out with us. Autumn says, I wish I had taken my health more seriously all my life. And Autumn, there are great place for me to make this statement. And thank you for putting that in, by the way. And thank you for being transparent. Because it's only by addressing and facing and talking that we are able to get better. That's the whole idea behind the limitless living that you'll hear me talk about here in just a little while, and as we move into the new season for our show, limitless living. The past things are things that we've done. We've all made change. We've all made decisions. We've all had opportunities that we think we've missed in terms of metabolism, blood sugar, and so forth. For a long time, I could not talk about my personal journey because I was making choices that were not setting me up for success. And there are complications, right? There are complications that we all have as a result of that. My thought in this space is that at this moment, though, we have unlimited potential to make changes for the future. I can't go back and change the hundreds of bottles, thousands of bottles of soda and juice and cookies and candies and Cadbury's and so forth that I ate that continue to prolong and continue to damage parts of my body. I can't change it. But at this moment right here, I can make a decision that going forward, I'm going to do everything I possibly can do to set myself up for success. And there's nothing outside of me. There's nothing that anybody could say to hurt my feelings, to get me mad, to get me upset, to cause any trauma that's going to hinder me. There's nothing inside of me, no regret, no memory, no depression, no anxiety, no frustration that's going to prevent me from moving in that direction. That's what limitless living says. That I am right now taking charge, and I am going to be doing what I need to do to move into the future. Now, I'm going to say this. Just because you make a decision now doesn't mean that tomorrow you are going to be perfect. Because it's not about perfection, it's about the journey. So even today, when you make a decision that, hey, I'm jumping in, I'm putting both feet in, there are going to be struggles. You may get off the show tonight. I may get off the show tonight and walk out, and there's something that I've got to deal with. But my goal is to harness that infinite possibility that's within me and infinite decisions that I can make to be successful. Okay. So Steve says, I hear you, AJ. I'm paying the price for the love of my Little Debbie's cakes. Autumn says, yes, those Little Debbie's cakes. Autumn says she thinks that my ketones are going to be 0.4. Steve is guessing 1.5. Autumn says, yes, 5-day fast. So Autumn, I'm going to star this also because I want to come back and I want to talk about that. And then GW, hey man, what's going on? Thank you for coming through. GW says, Jamie, this should help your daughter. He's giving a lot of good education and instruction for free. He's a very good friend of ours. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. All right. So we've looked at my blood sugars. You kind of got the premise of what we're doing. Okay. What we're doing is we're saying what am I going to be doing from this moment going forward? I can't change the past. I wish I could. I wish I could go back. There are some decisions that I made. I was like, man, that was the best decision I ever made. And then there's some like, that one, no. If we could erase that one, we would. But right now we can't. And so what my goal is, and what the community's goal is how do we set ourselves up for success moving into the future? Because in this space, we are living limitless lives, right? And I do some speaking in some churches and spiritual places, and there's an interesting story that I tell them. Ask me that sometime. But it is an amazing idea that your capacity for making decisions begins right here. And the decisions that you make set you up for success in the future. All right, so let's go ahead. So we're talking about fasting. Remember, fasting, we're doing fasting because we are trying to reverse our diabetes. We're trying to improve our metabolic health. And the 3 pillars of reversing diabetes: number 1, decreasing insulin; number 2, suppressing appetite; number 3, reducing sugar. Those are the 3 pillars of diabetes, reversing diabetes. And remember, diabetes is not a sugar problem. Most people think that diabetes is a sugar problem. It's kind of like, I have lots of examples and lots of stories that I tell. It's kind of like, you've got your car parked in your driveway, and there are a couple of kids out there, and one of the kids grabs the rock and he throws it and breaks your window. And you go and you buy, or you get the windows fixed, and you bring the car back, and he picks a rock up, and he throws and breaks the window. And you go, you get the car fixed, and you come back, and he picks up a rock, and he throws and he breaks the window. Well, is it a window problem? Or is it the kid keeps throwing the rock? So you can either stop the kid from throwing the rock, or you can invest in windows. And what we do in the diabetes space is we invest in windows. We say, hey, the blood sugar is high, so let me fix the blood sugar. But it's not a blood sugar problem. Because as long as you don't fix the problem, the issue here, then the blood sugar is still going to be high. And so diabetes, or New Year, New You, is, hey, how do I do that? And fasting, an amazing way of doing that. So when we fast, I talk about fasting in 3 different phases. How do we prepare for a fast? How do we get through a fast successfully? And then how do we end a fast? Remember, fasting is not just about not eating. It's not just about abstinence from food. There is a psychological, there's a physical, there's a mental, there's an emotional, there's even a social component that goes to it. And so if we don't prepare well for the fast, then when we get into the fast doesn't go well, and we kind of fall down, and we don't fast anymore, and our brain reminds us of how poorly we did last time, and then we get into that cycle. And so fasting now becomes, well, that doesn't work for me. Well, it's because we didn't prepare well. And then getting through the fast, if we don't do the things that we need to do to get through the fast, understanding fasting, what's going to happen in our bodies, then we also set ourselves up for not having success. And then when we break the fast, at the end of the fast, when we terminate the fast, if we do things incorrectly, we end up undoing the benefits of the benefits that we had during the fast. So we want to talk about, how do we prepare for the fast? How do we get through the fast successfully? What's going on in our bodies? And then how do we get through break that fast successfully? Okay? So that's where we are. So how do we prepare? And the first question really is, why do you need to prepare? Right? Why do I have to even prepare for the fast? And the preparing for the fast has, once again, like I just said, it's not just about not eating. It is being able to set our minds, set our bodies physically, our emotions, get our environment prepared, and also get our social circle prepared. So when we're preparing, so why do we prepare? We prepare because it decreases the shock, not just on the body, but on the system, on our emotions, on our environment. Can you imagine if you show up, like Autumn was saying she's going to fast for 5 days. Suppose you show up and you've never fasted before, and all of a sudden you say, I'm going to do a 3-week fast. That's not setting yourself up for success, because there are things that are going to happen that you may not understand. There are things that you should have done prior to the fast that will help you get through the fast successfully. There are things in the fast, right? So people often can have headaches, dizziness, blurry vision. All of those things can happen if they don't do a good job. And then it minimizes common side effects like fatigue and headaches and irritability, because we're doing the things we need to do to get our bodies ready. And of course, it helps to maintain focus on your purpose and your goal, because there are going to be some times when you have a struggle. There's going to be something that comes up. There's going to be a conversation that you've had. There's going to be a hurt feelings. They're going to be on the job. Your boss, gets on you for something, or you do a project that doesn't quite go well, or you have an interaction with your loved ones that, hey, something is happening, or somebody in the family gets sick. And you know how we deal with that often? We deal with it by buffering. And buffering are those things that we do that insulate us, delay, avoid the situation that we're in or the feelings. And so when that happens, it is easy to say, hey, I'm going to just get off my fast right now. If we have not prepared, if we've not said to ourselves, okay, this is my goal, this is my purpose. I'm doing a 72-hour fast. I'm doing a 24-hour fast. I'm doing an alternate day fasting. And I'm doing it because I'm improving my health. I'm reversing my diabetes. I'm improving my insulin sensitivity. I'm decreasing my cholesterol. I'm improving my fatty liver. So the goal is going to give you help in getting to where you need to be. But if you don't have that in mind, then it's easy to say, okay, we'll get off this now and we'll come back next time. Okay? All right. So then what do we do as we are preparing mentally? So maybe we talk about mentally, physically, emotionally, right? Mentally, what are we doing? So mentally, number one, we want to set clear goals. Understand why you're fasting, which goes back to what I was just saying. You've got to know what you're doing. Is your fast I am trying to be generally healthy? Am I reversing my diabetes? Am I lowering my A1C? Am I working on decreasing my weight? So what is the clear goal? Because if you have a clear goal, then you're more able to achieve that because you understand where you're heading. And the things that happen don't easily derail you because I'm heading to that goal. You want to visualize success. Imagine what completing the fast successfully feels like. What does it look like? What's the benefit of it? Often when we do coaching with our clients, when there's an issue, the question that we ask, 2 questions. Number one, what would it be like if you did not achieve that? What happens if you do not lower your A1C? What happens if you don't get better blood sugars? What happens if you don't decrease the weight? What are the medical complications that go along with that? I'm still at risk for heart attacks and strokes, neuropathy. I'm at increased risk for GI problems, increased risk for cancers. What happens if I don't achieve the goal? In this case, we're talking about reversing diabetes. What happens if that doesn't happen? And then the next question that we ask is, what happens if I do achieve that goal? If my weight does go down, if my blood sugars now are better, so that my doctor has to actually take me off of diabetes medications? What happens if my blood pressure is improved so that I don't have to take that medication anymore for blood pressure? What happens as I make those changes and now my coronary artery risk factor goes down, my risk of stroke goes down, my risk of neuropathy and nephropathy, kidney disease, and blindness goes down? So I want to visualize that, because this thing right here that I'm doing, this fasting, is taking me in that direction. And that's where I'm heading. Remember, long, healthy life is our goal. And if I can visualize that, then yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. And visualize the end of the fast. What is it going to be like when I successfully say, man, for the last 2 days, for the last 3 days, for the last 5 days, Autumn, I've been doing what I needed to do to help my metabolic system. And now look at me. I'm 5 days out. I'm 3 days out. I'm 2 days out. I'm 16 hours out. And I've successfully done that. What does that look like? And then educate yourself. There are various types of fasting. You've heard me say some of them. 16 and 8, intermittent fasting, alternate day fasting, 1 meal a day, or OMAD, right? Fasting, 24-hour fasting, and so forth, so that you understand what the fast is going to do, how to do the fast. And there's even a show that we did where we talked about the different fasting methods and the disease processes that they have been shown to improve. Okay? So research, understand, so that as you're going through the fast, you are fully aware of what's going on in your body. And when you do have things, you're like, okay, I understand what that is. Now my body is switching over from burning carbohydrates to burning ketones. Okay? We did a show where we talked about side effects of fasting, right? Bad breath, constipation, dehydration. If you don't understand that, you're like, okay, fasting doesn't work for me. Well, no, it's not that it doesn't work, but those are just things that happen. Right? By the way, the bad breath is from the ketones. When your body produces ketones, it makes acetone, and acetone has a bad smell in the breath. Okay, affirmations. Use affirmations to help you stay motivated during the fast. I am fasting to improve my health. I am going to end my fast at 24 hours. I am fasting for 72 hours. When I finish fasting, my blood sugars will have improved. It helps to help you stay motivated during the fast. Okay? And then nutritional preparation. Now, this is an interesting one because most people think of the benefits of fasting that occur during the fast. They don't think about the things that go on before the fast. Number one, reducing sugar and reducing carbs. Why is that important as we get into the fast? Well, when you get into a fast, your body has to process the stuff that you just ate. And we'll talk about the different phases of eating here in just a minute, or fasting in just a minute. But your body has to process all that stuff. And if you come into a fast having just eaten a high carb, high sugary meal, then your insulin level has to come up, or you have to take insulin to bring those blood sugars down. And remember, insulin is the culprit. So when insulin comes, insulin makes you put on weight. So we're talking about fasting to improve our weight, but we come into fasting in a condition that forces our body to make more insulin, and that very act causes our weight to go up. So people say, oh man, I've been fasting for a day, I've been fasting for 2 days, and my weight hasn't gone down. It's because we came into the fast just having eaten donuts and candies and cookies and cakes. Or pasta. Right? So those high carbs. The other thing is that when insulin comes out, it stimulates the appetite. So that you come into fasting, and those first 6 hours, as the body's breaking down the stuff you ate, the pasta and the candy and the potatoes and the rice and the bread, well, because insulin is having to manage those blood sugars, insulin level is high. And because insulin level is high, you have cravings. And during those first several hours, it becomes difficult. You're like, man, I can't fast because I'm just hungry all the time. Well, you're hungry all the time because you came into the fast having come out of eating highly sugar, highly refined, high carb foods. Okay, so that's one thing. Next thing, in terms of the meals that we're eating, you want to increase the healthy fats. So nuts, and we'll talk more about that here in just a minute. So nuts, avocados, seeds, any of those things, because the fats slow the digestive system, and it produces something called CCK, or cholecystokinin, which goes to the brain and tells the brain that I'm full. So you come into the fast having had healthy fats in your diet, and so the body feels fuller for longer as you move into the fast, and it sends a signal to the brain that says, I'm not hungry. So you set yourself up for success during the first hours of fasting by increasing the fats in your food. And notice we said healthy fats, right? All fats do it, but we want to do healthy fats, which is part of the balanced bites, right? Fueling your body with balanced bites. Every bite counts. You want to increase your water and your electrolyte intake. If you are dehydrated during a fast, well, not just during a fast, if you're dehydrated, your body has to increase the speed at which it's pumping blood to keep the same amount of nutrients and oxygen going to the cells. So if my volume goes down, in order to keep supplying the cells with the same amount that they are used to, then I've got to speed the heart rate up, and people feel that like the heart's racing, right? Palpitations. So you want to increase your water intake. You'll see another slide here in just a minute for that. The other thing is we want to gradually reduce our eating window. So if you have never fasted before and you're having struggles with fasting, then what you want to do is you want to start with for instance, if you sleep for 8 hours, then just add 2 hours to that. Now you are fasting for 10 hours. And then when you're able to fast for 10 hours, then add 2 more hours to that. So now you got 12 hours. Then 2 more hours, you got 14 hours. 2 more hours, you got 16 hours. 2 more hours, you got 18 hours. Notice what we're doing is we're working our way up so the eating window gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And so our fasting window gets longer and longer and longer. So you want to gradually do that. So remember, this is about progress, not perfection. So nutritional preparation. And then, of course, hydration and electrolytes. You want to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Most of us, during a fast, if we're fasting, because we're not eating, we also don't think about drinking. So coming into a fast, you want to make sure that you're doing a lot of work to get yourself hydrated. Okay? Ensure adequate intake of electrolytes. Lots of electrolyte supplementations out there. You've got to be careful because just like let me go ahead and grab. Give me just a second. So just like I with the artificially sweetened tea, ran into trouble. You remember several months ago, we had the same kind of issue with the electrolytes that I was using. Let's go back to this one. All right. So these were 2 brands of electrolytes that I was using. And this one, I saw the 0, and I grabbed it. And then when I started looking at it, let's see, hopefully you can see that. Give me just a sec. Come on. There we go. You'll see it says there calories. Or maybe. Okay. Yeah, it won't focus. Anyway, 5 calories. Right? So it says 5 calories. Remember, we're talking about no calories. And then it has 2 grams of carbs. Right? So that's this guy. And then this one, 0 calories, less than 1 gram of carb. So there's still carbs in it. I'm not sure why that's blurry. So there's still carbs in it. So as you're looking at products for electrolytes, you want to make sure that you are, if you're looking for things that don't have any carbs, you want to make sure that you're looking at those packages, right? Okay. So drink plenty of water. Make sure you're getting the electrolytes in. You can use herbal teas. You can use herbal teas for hydration as you're moving into the fast, because they not only do they keep you hydrated, but they also calm the GI tract and they relax you, which is great for getting into a fast. And then you want to do some physical preparation. Now, physical preparation, if you normally do what's called a fasting workout, that is, you are fasting because the muscles like ketones, which are being produced during fasting, and the growth hormone levels go up during fasting, right? That helps to maintain muscle mass. So a lot of people actually do what are called fasting workouts. They fast and they do hard workouts because they get bulked up more easily, faster, bigger, because the body at that point is helping with all of that. If you're not doing that, then you want, when you're going into a fast, particularly if you're going into an extended fast, you want to decrease the strenuous exercises about 1 to 2 days before you get to the fast. Because we don't want to go into the fast having or being drained and in the fast draining ourselves. Unless, like I said, you're doing fasting workouts. So you want to do that 1 to 2 days before. You want to begin decreasing the strenuousness of the exercise that you're doing. Sleep is an important one. You want to aim for sleep, quality sleep. The body restores, regenerates during sleep. It regenerates during restful, quality sleep. 7 to 8 hours is what we tell people they should have. 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And then begin reducing, if you're drinking things that have caffeine or any of the energy drinks, you want to reduce those as you're moving towards the fast as well, because if not, you get into the fast and you begin having those withdrawal symptoms. And then our environment. One of the major pitfalls in fasting is that people go into a fast, but they don't clean out their environment. They leave all the things in their environment that are triggers for them. They love 7-Up or Sprite, and their cabinet is full of Sprite and 7-Up. They know they have a problem with cookies and candies and cakes and Cadbury chocolate, but they have those all around them. And so when you're in the fast, if something happens, some emotional trigger gets pressed, if the food is there, you're more likely to eat it. If it's not there, the likelihood of you eating it goes down. You may still decide, I'm getting up and I'm going to the store and I'm getting some and I'm going to eat it, but that takes work. So remove unhealthy snacks from your environment. The processed foods, get rid of those. Create a fasting-friendly zone. Now, notice it says there, keep your kitchen stocked with healthy teas, water, fasting supportive drinks, right? And of course, maybe you have to check to make sure you got the right one. And prepare distractions, right? Fasting is a lot about mental and emotional states. So plan a trip, plan to get together with friends where it doesn't involve food, plan a hobby, plan reading, plan going to the park, so that a part of the fasting time is already taken up by activity. And so you're not spending the entire day, right, thinking about fasting. And then emotional and social. Inform your family and friends. Let them know what's going on. Let them know that, hey, this is what's going to be happening, so that they don't plan things during the time when you're fasting. Be mindful of friction. If you are going to fast, say you're doing intermittent fasting, don't start fasting at 5 o'clock when your family is going to sit down to eat at 6 or 7 o'clock. Right? Eat with the family, then begin fasting. Because if you do it before, with those times I just gave, you're automatically creating some friction. And we, as humans, we don't like friction. We don't like places where things are tense. And so we will do one of two things in that situation. Either we're going to break the fast and say, you know what, this is not going to work. Because we like community. We want to be in community with our family. Or we're going to stick to the fast. We're going to have friction with our loved ones. And then that's going to create a problem for us. And down the road, we're going to say, okay, I'm not going to fast anymore because it causes too much trouble. Okay? So be mindful of that. Talk to your friends and say, hey, let me say it the other way. If you get together with your friends on Tuesdays to do something normally, and it involves food, don't plan your fasting day on Tuesday. Do it another time. And be flexible. So when I fast, for example, Thanksgiving, or when for our anniversary, we went on a trip. And so I typically do a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday fast, right? 3 days, 72 hours. And so the week when we were going on a trip, which would have fallen right in the middle of my fast, because I think we left here on Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's my fasting day. So I started my fast on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now I've got my fast out of the way. I've taken care of my metabolism, and now I can go and enjoy my time with the family. Right? So you've got to be able to kind of adjust as you're moving through the fasting stage. So inform family and friends. Identify emotional triggers. Be aware of things that may trigger you to break the fast. And I'll tell you, my triggers, remember the HEAT model, habits, emotions, access, and taste? Habits, emotions, access, and taste. My triggers are emotions, access, and taste. Go back and watch our show from yesterday. You'll hear about the chocolate, okay? And then create accountability. Find a group. Find a place. That's why I love this group. Right, we do our community meetup once a month. You'll see some things coming out here over the next couple of weeks on how you can become involved in the community, how you can be a part of that so that we are supporting each other. Join a fasting group. One of our community members a couple of days ago was asking for someone to fast with her. Accountability. If you want to go somewhere, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, if you want to be successful, and you want to go a long distance, take somebody with you. Because that person then gets to hang out with you. They get to support you. They get to pull you sometimes. Yeah? All right. So when we talk about fasting, there are those three things. Preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and, of course, breaking the fast. And what are the takeaways for preparation? Number one, get lots of rest. You got to get rest. Number two, stay hydrated. Number three, reduce stress. And number four, eat nutritionally dense foods. So not calorie dense. So not cookies, candies, cakes, but nutritionally dense. And this goes back to our balanced bites. Remember, we are fueling our bodies with balanced bites. Every bite counts. And our balanced bites, look at that, right? To the whole foods. You're going to minimize the processed foods. No added sugar, lean protein, healthy fats, starchy and non-starchy vegetables. It has to be tasty and flavorful, and you want to make sure that you're looking at those portion sizes. Okay? All right. So now how do we get through the fast successfully? So the fast, I typically break it up into into 24-hour categories. But we're going to do it a little bit more finely here so you can get an idea of what's going on in your body. The first 6 hours really are what's called the postprandial phase. This is where the body is just now kind of breaking down the food. Right? So technically we're not fasting. Okay? So the body is taking all the food that you just ate, is breaking it down, it's extracting from it the components it needs, and then the waste is being moved out. During this time, we feel lots of energy because typically we're eating things that have carbs. And so there's that ready sugar that's coming out of the food. Our insulin levels are high because the insulin is having to bring the blood sugar down. Or if you're on medication, if you're on insulin itself, you have to take insulin from outside. If you are on some of the medications that make your pancreas produce insulin, when they see the sugar coming, then the pancreas kicks in and insulin gets started producing. Or releasing, I shouldn't say producing, right? So this is what's going on during this time. And people feel good. People feel energetic. First 6 hours, the postprandial phase. And the next 6 hours really are when the body is now starting to see that the blood sugar is dropping. All right, so your blood sugars are going down because the body's processed it. There is blood sugar that's roaming around your body, but it's taken the excess and it's put it into storage, into the liver, right, glycogen. And anything beyond that gets stored in the fat cells. So notice what's happening. There are 3 different compartments where your food goes when you eat it. There's the food that's readily accessible, that's running around your blood. Those are the sugars that are there. And we're talking specifically sugar here, okay? We won't talk about fats or protein in this space. for right now. Right? So there's a sugar that's in your blood, and the body's actively using that to help you breathe, to help your lungs go, to help your muscles move. You know, as you're walking up and down the steps, as I'm talking with my hands right now, and whatever sugar is in my body, the body's using that. When you eat, that's what happens. Some of it gets put into the bloodstream, and it uses that as energy. The excess gets stored in the liver as glycogen. So if there's more than what you need, the body's going to take that and is going to put it in the liver. If the liver gets full, as would happen if you eat a high carb, high sugary meal before coming into a fast, if the blood has enough to keep you going and the liver gets full, then the body takes the excess beyond that and it sends it to the fat cells. So is it possible to eat food that just is staying in the blood cell or blood into the vessels to keep your body going? It's semi-possible, but it certainly is possible to eat foods that don't get put into fat cells. That we know. Right? There's going to be some in the blood and there's going to be some in the liver. It is what it is. But we don't have to eat so much that it goes to the fat cells. And that's what happens most often. I shouldn't say most often, a lot of the time. Because we're eating, right, during the first 12 hours, the blood, we already have enough in the blood to do what we need. And we try to pack as much as we can into the liver. And now the liver's full. Well, where do you think it goes? Well, it gets shoveled out and it gets put into the fat cells, right? And this is called the early satiety, early fasting stage. So insulin is going down, glucose is going down because the blood sugars are being stored. And then the transition to fat, using fat. So after the body has used up what it's in the bloodstream and it's looked at what's in the liver and those glycogen is starting to deplete, then it says, okay, I need to start thinking now about burning fat. And that fat gets turned into ketones. This is the whole idea behind kind of like that hybrid car where it goes from burning gas to burning using the battery. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So transition from fat. This is 12 to 18 hours. And then after 12 to 18 hours, we got the 18 to 24 hours. And the glycogen stores are pretty much depleted at this point. That is what's in the liver. The body is burning fat and turning it into ketones. So the ketone levels are starting to go up and autophagy begins. Autophagy is the body's recycling process that puts us, that has all those benefits of the body rebuilding, repairing, improving itself. This all happens when autophagy starts. And autophagy is where we have associated cancer treatment. Right, so some cancers respond better when we're fasting. This is where we get improvement in neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. This is where we get improvement in neuropathy, where we get improvement in inflammation. We get improvement in our immunity. All of that happens as autophagy is kicking in. Okay, and that begins happening right here at the 18 to 24 hour period. And then 24 to 36 hours, 24 to 30 hours, the body is in full adaptation, so fat adaptation. So glycogen is gone. The body is burning fat now and is pumping out those ketones, and the body loves the ketones. In this process, it is important to remain hydrated. So the same things that we talk about here, right? So get lots of rest, stay hydrated, and reduce stress. Staying hydrated is important because during the process of breaking down fat, there are waste products that are being formed. And if you're not hydrated, then the body has a difficult time getting those out of the system. So you're going to make sure that you are remaining hydrated during this process as well. So starting the fast, preparing for the fast, successfully getting through the fast, and then, of course, breaking the fast. How do we break the fast? Breaking the fast is important because if you don't, then the benefit that we just saw, the benefits that we just got, all of those can be hampered. Those are the word I use, hampered. So we don't want to undo and reverse the things that we've done in the fast. Okay, so breaking the fast is just as important as getting through the fast itself. So what are we going to be doing in breaking the fast? Here are some tips for you. Number one, you want to make sure that you're monitoring. Yes, I said monitoring. So anytime you are working on metabolism, you want to make sure that you are doing what you need to do. Let me say it a little differently. You want to see what's going on in your body. You want to see what the foods are doing. You want to see what the rest and the sleep and all those things are doing, so that you set yourself up for success. And then you can make decisions. Now, when I wear my monitors, I make decisions about what I eat based on the numbers I see. There are sometimes that I'll see that number a little higher than I want. I'll say, okay, I'm not going to eat quite yet. Or, okay, let me go walking. Right? When I walk with my wife in the mornings, that it helps with my blood sugar. Often we think about the treatment of our blood sugar, our diabetes, with medication, but there are other things that we can do that will also help with blood sugar. Okay? So make sure that if you don't have a monitor, you can get out there, you can get one. They're relatively inexpensive. If you want one of the continuous monitors, that's what I was trying to pull up here. You can go to stello.com, and those are over the counter. You do not need a prescription to get one of those, right? Stello.com. No affiliation with them. Portion control. Often it's not that we are eating the wrong things, but we are eating too much of the things. Right? So you want to make sure that you are not being excessive in your portion sizes. Most of the places we go, the portions that we have are huge. They're way beyond what the portion is supposed to be. So you want to make sure that you are managing the portion. And that's the whole idea, once again, behind Balanced Bites. Balanced Bites says that every bite counts. Then we want to eat slowly. It takes about 20 minutes for your brain to get the signal about you being full. So if you just get there and you scarf it down, it's gone, then the brain never gets that, well, it gets a signal, but you've already eaten and you've already moved on to the second or third or fourth plate. So eat slowly. And then avoid sugary processed foods. This is in breaking the fast. Whatever you break the fast with, your body's going to be craving for the next 24 to 36 hours. So if you break it with highly processed, highly sugar, high carb foods, then when you get post fasting, you're going to have those cravings, and you're going to have those triggers, and you're going to be eating those same things because the insulin came up. So you want to break the fast slowly, which is why I often will break my fast with either broth, and you've seen me here eat cheese. Nuts I can't have because I don't have any control over my nuts, my eating of cashews and almonds and all of those. So I don't even actually bring those. I have some that I got, but it turns out that they were kind of like a trail mix, so they were sweet. They had some sweet on it. So anyway, so I. But you want to make sure that you are avoiding sugary, highly processed foods as you're moving through that space. Okay, and then hydration. Just like in preparing for the fast and with getting through the fast, hydration is important here as well. Sometimes we will confuse dehydration with hunger, and it's actually not hunger; it's the fact that you are dehydrated. Okay, so make sure that you're maintaining good hydration. You can use water, of course. That's always preferable. You can use coconut water. Make sure that it's making sure that it is the unsweetened variety, so that we're not pumping a lot of sugar into our body. Okay, and then you can do herbal teas, just like we did herbal teas during the preparing for the fast. You can do those here as well. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are maintaining that hydration. And proteins, when you eat proteins will help to keep you fuller longer, right? They slow the GI tract. Proteins, when you eat them, produce peptide YY. and that sends a signal that I'm full to the brain, and it helps us to remain satiated longer. So chicken, turkey breast, eggs, tofu, and tempeh for those of you who might be vegetarian or vegan. Those are good options. Fats, healthy fats, and I mentioned this, they also slow the GI tract. Avocados, nuts, seeds. Seeds add an added benefit because they have a lot of fiber in them that we need. So very good. And so when we talk about hydration, broth's also great. Vegetable broth, bone broth. I tend to break my fast with a broth so that I'm not putting in a lot of calories, a lot of carbs. And I try to maintain ketosis for some time longer than when I'm fasting. And so when we're talking about fasting, breaking the fast, there's some considerations, right? So you want to use foods that maintain stable blood sugars, so not a lot of spikes, and that offer nutritional value. So not calorie dense, but nutrient dense. Focus on low glycemic index. That's glycemic index that's less than 50 or less. You want to do lean protein, healthy fats, and of course make sure that you are maintaining good hydration. Okay? Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at, and we looked at blood sugar, so I won't go back there, but I do want us to take a look at my ketones, and we saw some guesses out there. And let me go ahead and pull this up. And so you see my Keto Mojo. Here is my Keto Mojo meter. So go ahead and get that started, and then go ahead and get it synced. And drum roll, please. Drum roll, drum roll. And let me go back and see what my guesses were. So I think Autumn said 0.4. Steve said 0.4. And I think those were the two. All right, so here we are. And drum roll, it says, okay, look at that. 83 was my blood sugar. And let me get this off. So 83 was the blood sugar, and 1.8 were the ketones. All right, so you see that there. When we talk about ketones, we want ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 are considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 are considered therapeutic ketosis. And so when we talk about ketones, we want ketones, if we're talking about metabolic space, weight loss, improved insulin sensitivity, all the things that we've just discussed, we want ketones to be 0.5 or higher. 0.5 or higher. If you look at my graph, let me back up. So you'll see there, when I broke the fast last week, as I started eating, which is the tan line, you see that my glucose levels went up. And then as I started fasting right here, right, so blood sugar was 110, ketones were, let's see, what were they, 0.2. As I started fasting and the blood sugars are going down, so 109, so ketones are going up, 0.7. And then now my blood sugar is down at 83, ketones are 1.8. Remember, ketones and insulin can't be in the same space. When insulin goes up, as happens with blood sugar, when blood sugar rises, then blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up. When insulin goes up, ketones have to go away because they can't be in the same space. They're like matter and antimatter. It's like when you watch those sci-fi movies, they tell you when you go back in time, don't interact with yourself, right? Because you can cause problems. And so you want to make sure that, so during the fasting period, breaking the fast, we want ketones to be 0.5 or higher. And that's why things that have carbs will cause problems for us. Okay? Because they don't, they produce insulin, and when they produce insulin, that causes a problem for him. Okay? Okay. All right. Let's see. So let's go back, and I think we had a couple of comments A couple of questions. Let's see. There was one. So Autumn said, I'm interested in your thoughts on the Lumen devices. And so Lumen devices, there are several of them out there, and these are particularly useful for people who are interested in weight management, metabolic health. Some of them have a pretty interesting learning curve, and you've really got to get in there. You got to get a good system that allows you to ask questions. One of the ones I saw had it was connected to I guess it was a cloud, and so your information went up, and there was someone on the other side, a coach, who would see those, and based on the parameters that you guys have set, then that person would reach out to you. So the ones that are attached to something like that, I think are very good. Doing it yourself, I mean, they're good. So all devices that give us metabolic information is important. We just have to make sure that we understand how that applies to us and where we are. Okay. It helps, so lots of things helps with metabolism and flexibility and optimizing weight and improving fitness performance. It's going to be personalized, so lots of good things there. But just make sure that you are understand yourself and what you need with the device and the system that they're giving. Okay? And then I think I saw there was another question that Autumn had. Okay, no, Autumn was saying that yes, she was doing fasting. So make sure, right? Let's go back to let's go back here. Okay, get lots of rest, stay hydrated. Right, don't try to do this during a stressful period, stressful time. And you've already started, I understand. So make sure that you are drinking, that you're getting good electrolytes, and reach out. Make sure that you have some medical personnel in your community as you're going through this, particularly as you're doing those longer fasts. Okay, so you want to make sure that somebody, your medical team, your primary care doctor, your nurse practitioner, whoever is on your medical team, that they understand what you're doing, and they can give you some guidance. Right. So very important to make sure that you are in community when you're doing this, because it helps you be successful. Okay, I think I got those comments. So back to what I was saying initially. For everybody, the past has happened. The future is where we are. I shouldn't say the future. The present is where we are, and we're heading into the future. Unlimited potential to make decisions right now for your future, for what's going on in the future. And that's where the New Year, New You process is. And as we move into what happens next for us, right? We're talking about the unlimited potential that comes from the new us, the unlimited ability that we have to make changes. So limitless living says that we're not allowing anything outside of us or anything inside of us to prevent us from being in the space we need to be successful with our health. And so there's no memory that's going to prevent me. There's no past depression or guilt or shame that's going to prevent me from doing this. That means, now notice what that means. That doesn't mean that there isn't currently guilt or shame. But it means that if I'm going to move forward and be successful, I've got to address the guilt and shame. Come on. Okay? So that doesn't mean you don't have it. That doesn't mean I don't have it. That doesn't mean that there's no depression, there's no anxiety, there's no worry. That does not mean that. What it means is if those things are inexistent, if those things are in me, I've got to now deal with them so that they don't push my buttons and push me in a space that derails me. Most people don't have problems because of diabetes, the disease. When we talk about diabetes, most people's blood sugars have to do with the life that they're currently experiencing. The regret that causes them to buffer with food. The pain that causes them to go to the juice. The memory of a better time that causes them to eat chocolate. And until we deal with those things, the management of diabetes, the reversing of our diabetes, the idea of eating a balanced bite or fueling our body with those things that help us, that is in jeopardy. And so limitless living says that we are doing all the things that we need to do. We are addressing the things inside of me. We're addressing that relationship that frustrates me and that stresses me so much that every time I talk to that person, I end up over at McDonald's, or I end up over at Dairy Queen, or I end up over at Baskin Robbins, or down here at what's the donut place? Krispy Kreme. I've got to address those if I'm going to live a limitless life. But we have the potential to be successful as we move forward. And so I encourage you, as you're moving through the rest of this season, that you begin thinking and put your foot in, both feet in, and say, okay, yeah, I'm doing this. I am going to live a limitless life coming next year. And join us. So we've got video from the vault tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Central. We've got This Week in Review that will run at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning, right here, Central. Monday, we'll be back, and that will be our final episode for this season as we talk about the limitless living that we're about to get into. And this is all built on the new us that we've done. This is the new version of us that we're taking into the new year. I mentioned to someone just a little while ago that when we talk about New Year, New You, I don't know if you noticed on the logo, the new year is very small. It's New Year, New You, but very small new year, but very big new you. And that is deliberate. That is intentional, because we're not taking the new year with us. We're taking the new us. See that there at the end? Right here, actually. New you. Boom, boom. I gotta go. There you go. That's who we're taking with us. And I encourage you to bring this you with you as we move into a limitless year, limitless living, as we reverse our diabetes. Thank you for being here. I'm always excited when I get a chance to spend time with you. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you, and our limitless living is built on the new version of us. We'll see you at our next episode. Bye-bye.